Exercise caution.
We'll be out there, but it does take us a little time to get around once it starts, so just be cautious.
Warnings from city officials following snowfall, cold temperatures, and strong winds. Plus, a call for beds, not benches.
The winter months are here, and we want to get people out of the cold.
Addressing the critical shortage of beds for the homeless. And a boost for local businesses as Americans cash in on this side of the border.
There's about a $30 to $40 difference there. I was really surprised.
CTV News with Stefanie Masotti.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us both on CTV Windsor and AM 800. The region was hit with 2 to 5 inches of snow this morning, depending on where you live in our viewing area. And it may not be over with another system on its way, bringing with it a mix of rain and snow. CTV's Bob Elachico has a look at how people handled today's blast of weather.
Another day of digging out, residents clearing off sidewalks and driveways.
It's fine, the winter is coming.
If I'm inside, I'm excited about it. When I'm outside, not so much.
Residents bundled up as the snow fell and the wind blew. It was a slow commute for motorists. Salt trucks hit the road trying to stay ahead of it as several centimeters of snow blanketed the region.
Once we wrap up with this event, we are expecting another event to start sometime later this evening, probably in the overnight hours. We're going to, according to Environment Canada, get a mixed bag of precipitation.
The next weather pattern will involve the fluctuation of temperature hovering around the freezing mark.
Yeah, they should be slowing down.
Tecumseh resident Joanne Kettlewell has set up bollards around her property as a marker for drivers and a reminder to slow down.
We have people that, like everybody else, they roll around the corner and away they skid it up onto the property.
Take it easy on the road. Like I said, we'll be out there, but it does take us a little time to get around once it starts, so just be cautious.
The town of Tecumseh sent a reminder in advance of Tuesday's first round of weather to remove all green bins, garbage bins, and recycling bins, along with vehicles and other objects off the road and out of the way for snowplows. They also recommended using Transat Windsor if you're heading out in snowy or icy conditions, a message initiated by the City of Windsor.
Realizing the city's transit system is one way for people to get around and lessen the impact of all of the vehicles on the road.
Do you hope it sticks around for Christmas at least?
Maybe for Christmas and then gone Boxing Day.
Bob Elachico, CTV News.
So here's our question of the day. Would you take public transit instead of driving in bad weather? Go to our website to cast your vote, ctvnewswindsor.ca. Yesterday, we asked if you have gotten or are planning to get the flu shot this year. Out of almost 800 responses, 67% say yes. CTV meteorologist Gary Archibald joins us now for a first look at the weather. And Gary, I mentioned 2 to 5 inches of snow, that's 2 to 5 centimeters.
Inches. We talk metric here. I'm glad you clarified that, because that would mean obviously a lot more snow. 2 to 5 centimeters is what we've looked at, but we could see 5 to 10 additional centimeters through the overnight, with a wintry-like mix of ice pellets and freezing rain for good measure. In all seriousness, it slowed things down. There have been some accidents. And of course, with this kind of weather, you have to plan and strategize. One system moving through Ontario, the next one really ramping up with rain and freezing rain and snow through parts of the upper Midwestern USA. Tonight is windy. We're going to see rain changing over to freezing rain into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's commute's going to be just like today's, with even more snow, 5 to 10 centimeters. I'll break down the complete forecast just ahead.
And as winter weather settles across Windsor, Essex, big city mayors in Ontario are re-upping their demand for homelessness to be declared a state of emergency. Joining me with the latest on this tonight, CTV's Michelle Mosky. Michelle.
Yeah, Stephanie, this is kind of a 1 year later check-in, re-up of a campaign that was launched last year called Solve the Crisis.
There's still a number of steps that the government can and needs to take to address this issue. There are people outside and it's below zero. It's, we don't want anyone dying on our street this winter or any winter.
Big city mayors now want homelessness to be declared a state of emergency by the Ford government. The organization says municipalities are covering more than 51% of the $4.1 billion spent on housing and homelessness programs in this province last year alone. They say that's not sustainable for services that they feel should be paid for out of Toronto. It's not a cheap problem to solve. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario estimates it will take $11 billion over 10 years to end chronic homelessness. The focus, they believe, needs to be on prevention, supportive housing, and sustainable exits from homelessness.
I would argue the biggest issue we face in Chatham-Kent is homelessness, addiction, and mental health.
Chatham-Kent Mayor Darren Caniff signed off on the urgent plea to the province to help. His municipality in particular has a very visible homeless tented city, one which has been high profile in the last year. They're trying new ideas like building tiny cabins, increasing downtown police patrols, and moving the tented city to a different location. Caniff says declaring a state of emergency would prioritize homelessness as Ontario's top issue.
Because it's not only the individuals that are experiencing it, it's the communities that have to deal with it as well. And the amount of resources that we spend on it, as far as police and hospital and emergency services and a number of other things, that we're spending a lot of money. And is there better ways to spend that money to provide a better service to those individuals?
We know that it's a chronic problem in this problem. We're working hard to try and help our municipal partners, along with ourselves, fix it.
That's Rob Flack, Ontario's Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, asked about the plea from the big city mayors today at Queen's Park. Flack told reporters they plan to meet with their federal counterparts in the new year to hammer out a housing plan for Canada. However, Flack says capacity at shelters is down. And while not specifically asked if they would declare a state of emergency, Flack doesn't appear to be considering it.
You take a look at capacity is down from last year, 91 to 93 to 89%. I believe it is working. We have given record amounts of money to our municipal partners. Bottom line is they can deploy it as they see fit. We have a service manager model in place, and if they want to deploy it differently, they can.
Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens was not available for an interview today, but he is on that big city mayor's caucus. They're asking everyday Ontarians to go to solvethecrisis.ca and send in your personal thoughts on the homelessness issue in this province, in the hope, Stefanie, that it might persuade the Ford government to change their mind, maybe give some more funding, maybe focus more attention on this whole issue.
And I think many of us, especially our viewers, feel like they have no say or can't help in any way. So checking out this website and having your say is at least one thing they can do.
It might make a difference. And the big city mayors are very positive towards the province about the HART hubs. We have more information on that later in Happening Now.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
And the city says it's closely monitoring pressures on the local homelessness system. As CTV's Chris Campbell found out, shelter providers are seeing a demand shift rapidly. Chris.
Yes, Stefanie. At least one agency is now over capacity, even as more beds were added to the system on Monday. The City of Windsor says there are now more than 200 shelter beds available across the community.
At the Salvation Army's Centre of Hope, extra space is being brought online as temperatures drop. Executive Director Jason Linton says the agency has added 16 emergency beds for single men, along with 2 more pet-friendly rooms to get ahead of rising demand.
So that brings our complement up to 60 beds, and we're doing this for the single reason that the winter months are here, and we want to get people out of the cold.
Not far away, the downtown mission is now over capacity. Executive Director Rakshini Panayagulan says just a week ago they had room, but the shift in weather changed that quickly.
We typically see more people coming to us later in the month for shelter, whether it be extremely cold or not. So we definitely hope, throughout the shelter system as a whole here in Windsor, Essex, that we have enough beds, enough space available for people.
The mission is calling on upper levels of government for emergency support, warning that the system can't absorb sudden spikes alone.
We need help, like I said, from higher levels of government, for more funding to allow for bigger spaces, more buildings perhaps, to allow for people to access the supports they need and to be safe and stay well throughout these difficult times.
So if any of our MPs or MPPs are listening, I would love to advocate for more funding.
The City of Windsor says there are 100 overnight drop-in spaces, and the number of shelter beds has increased to 215. That increase due to the added spaces at the Salvation Army.
I just want to assure the community that we're monitoring this very closely, and we'll do whatever we can to meet the demands. We do not want anybody having to sleep outdoors and, have the risk that comes with.
Officials say they're tracking capacity in real time and are prepared to work with providers to increase space if needed. The city is directing anyone needing help to call 211 for shelter information and warming options.
This is simply about keeping people out of the cold. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that people have a warm place to go.
For right now, there are enough beds for those who need them, but officials say that could change as the weather gets colder. One note, Stefanie, there are also spaces available at the Welcome Center Shelter for Women and the Homelessness and Housing Help Hub, or H4, and also the Essex County Homelessness Hub in Leamington.
Okay, good to know, Chris Campbell. Thank you. And Chris, speaking of the Salvation Army, their annual Christmas dinner is tomorrow. The Christmas turkey dinner will be at the St. Clair College Center for the Arts at 5 p.m. It's a free and a first-come, first-serve event. And like last year, lineups are expected to begin early. The need is heightened now by ongoing economic challenges that some in our community are facing during this holiday season.
There are many people who simply don't have family that they can enjoy the Christmas season with, right? So, yeah, part and parcel of our role is to fill that gap. And I think we do that through this Christmas dinner as one of the events that we do. I think it's important for some people who may not have that social network to come and enjoy an evening together of fellowship.
Students at a public school in Windsor's West End were cleared out this afternoon after a second threat in 4 days prompted a hold and secure at the school. Windsor police say they received an anonymous call claiming there was a risk inside Marlborough Public School. And out of an abundance of caution, officers entered the school and cleared the building. The hold and secure was lifted once police determined there was no threat. The school board says classes resumed afterwards and families were notified through its parent communication portal. Important legislation introduced today makes changes to the criminal code with reforms directed at keeping kids safe and protecting victims of gender-based violence, including femicide. CTV's Abigail Beeman outlines the challenges to the Justice Bill and why this is significant.
That happened on Mother's Day 2003.
A survivor of attempted intimate partner femicide, Nneka McGregor feels lucky she didn't end up a statistic. In 2024, 187 women in Canada were killed violently.
I've spent the last 2+ decades advocating for a lot of the changes that have been proposed today.
McGregor says the Liberals' new legislation goes a long way to end gender-based violence, especially the move to make femicide classified as first-degree murder and a new criminal offense for certain types of coercive and controlling behaviors to help stop abuse before it's too late.
We have an opportunity to better protect kids who are at risk of exploitation and to address very real concerns about violence against women, including violence that could be fatal.
If passed, C-16 will restore a dozen mandatory minimum penalties previously found unconstitutional, but also give courts some discretion to order shorter sentences to address the problem of potential charter infringement. The bill also makes it illegal to distribute deepfakes without someone's consent.
Unless you do X, Y, Z, then I'm going to share that with your family. I am going to post it to all of your friends. And, children are rightfully terrified.
This cybersecurity expert says the bill closes a critical loophole and legislation is long overdue.
The delay in introducing this law has had a profound effect on kids.
There is some overlap from the beleaguered Trudeau-era online harms bill, namely the requirement for internet service providers to notify police about any child porn. But the Justice Minister says this isn't a copy and paste. He hopes to have the support of all parties to pass this bill. It's not yet clear if he will. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Holiday shopping is in full swing, and many Canadians are staying closer to home to save money or avoid the crowds. But the strong U.S. dollar is drawing more American shoppers north. As CTV's Travis Fortnum reports, local businesses are seeing the boost.
We get a lot of Americans that shop with us on a regular basis.
At Whiskey Jack Boutique in the heart of Windsor, owner Katie Stokes is used to seeing customers from across the river, and lately she says they're coming with one thing in mind: the strong U.S. dollar.
Sometimes it's a surprise, which is always fun, to give them that piece of information where they realize everything is basically 30% off.
Yeah. It's cute.
And for visitors like Brittany Ocampo, that extra buying power adds up quickly.
I came out to Canada to celebrate a friend's birthday.
For her, Whiskey Jack was just one stop on a Canadian shopping spree.
She showed me like the difference in currency if I wanted to do Canadian dollars or US dollars, and it was about a $30 to $40 difference there. I was really surprised.
You have to take a number of things into account.
Economist Dr. Joseph Eisenhower says cross-border shopping can look different depending on which side you're coming from.
How much are you going to pay in tolls crossing the border? How much are you going to pay in the exchange rate conversion fee?
Things like tolls and conversion fees can shrink savings for Americans, and they're part of the reason many Canadians have stopped making trips in the other direction. The Canadian dollar has been sitting low against the U.S., and adding political tensions at the border, many local shoppers say it's just not worth heading stateside right now.
Right now, the American dollar is worth $1.40 in Canadian, but that changes every day. In fact, it changes every hour.
At Devonshire Mall, marketing manager Tina Asbrakis says that gap is helping draw more Americans over here, especially to stores like Lululemon.
Basically because it's the same price in Canadian and U.S. So when you come to Canada, let's just say tights that are $100 U.S., they are $100 Canadian. So then you save the $40 in exchange rate.
And as long as the dollar stays in this range, retailers expect to keep seeing more U.S. faces through the door.
So to see American shoppers coming back again, it's nice to see. I mean, we're neighbors, right?
Travis Fortnum, CTV News.
Do you have thoughts or comments on a story? We do want to hear from you. Text us at 10400. You can also send photos and videos if there's a story you would like us to cover. Washington's new security plan is raising alarms. Still ahead on Windsor's news leader, why Canada may be caught in the fallout. Later, trouble for holiday travelers. Air Transat's Windsor service may stall before it even takes off. And tomorrow, a deaf golfer picks up her clubs again and achieves a dream she never thought was possible. Again, that's tomorrow at 6 on CTV News. Canada pushed back today against American calls for control of the Western Hemisphere. The U.S. put out its national security strategy this week, and it didn't sit well with Canada. CTV's Judy Trin explains.
3 government ministers present to announce a nearly $3 million investment in military satellites.
These are not just defense assets, they are nation-building assets.
The satellites will be built and operated in Canada and used to surveil the Arctic and potential incursions from foreign threats.
It will be operated here from Canada by Canadians, so it really is a sovereign capability.
The technology will be used as part of NORAD, North American Air Defense, even as the Trump administration pulls back support of Western allies in its new national security strategy. The White House document calls for the U.S. to restore American preeminence in the Western Hemisphere and demands other nations make the U.S. its partner of choice while discouraging collaboration with others.
We are 2 sovereign states. And what the United States of America chooses to do through its national security strategy is its choice. What we what we intend to do here with a new Canadian national security strategy is our choice.
Why do I think it's dangerous?
Canada's former ambassador to NATO says the strategy could be viewed as hostile, that it lumps Canada in with Latin America, positioning it as a vassal state existing only to further American interests.
It's a kind of coercive economic nationalism throughout the region, focuses on buy American. We're going to push out competitors out of your markets because we're going to be the preeminent power in the region.
The 30-page document only mentions Canada once. The strategy seeks to weaken China, but also calls for Europe to stand on its own 2 feet. The Kremlin says the American security strategy aligns with Russian policy. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
In the United States, a federal judge has approved a request to release grand jury transcripts from Ghislaine Maxwell's sex trafficking case. The judge cited a new law that requires the government to open its files on Jeffrey Epstein and his longtime confidant. However, the judge cautions that people shouldn't expect to learn much of new information. The materials don't identify anyone other than Maxwell and Epstein as having had sexual contact with a minor. A request to unseal records from Epstein's 2019 sex trafficking case is pending. Air Transat's new service out of Windsor International Airport may be grounded before it even gets off the runway. With strike action looming and the airline winding down operations during a very busy travel season, here's CTV's Robert Lothian.
Air Transat service out of Windsor International Airport could be grounded before it even has a chance to take off.
To get it back and Air Transat coming back as a partner is great for us. Obviously, we're very hopeful that there'll be an agreement before next Friday when they're scheduled to start.
In May, the airport announced Air Transat would begin weekly flights to the Dominican Republic starting December 19th, running until April. Galvin says it would mark the airline's return to Windsor after more than 7 years.
There's been a great uptake on it, and obviously we're constantly looking for what this region wants and try to deliver that.
A potential disruption comes before many Windsor-Essex travelers hope to head south for the holidays.
It's a very unfortunate time because nobody's got a crystal ball as to what's going to happen, so it's an anxious time for people.
Windsor-based travel agent Al Valente says he has been hearing from worried clients. His biggest piece of advice is to avoid making panicked decisions.
If your flight gets canceled, you will get refunded. It may take some time. As you can understand, there's going to be a backlog of refunds if that is the case. But you will be out of a flight, and it may be difficult to find a flight at this time of year.
Both Valente and Galvin are hopeful Air Transat can avoid a work stoppage, returning this service to Windsor, but are advising passengers to stay up to date on the airline's guidance. Robert Lothian, CTV News, Windsor.
Royal LePage is predicting an increase in home prices next year, suggesting the market is primed for a reset with more buyers making moves.
The volume of homes trading hands acts as a crystal ball. We've seen very small incremental increases in the number of houses trading hands in the GTA and Southern Ontario through the second half of 2025. And we believe that will gradually begin to build prices. But it won't happen in time to actually show a price increase in the Greater Toronto area.
The national aggregate home price is expected to increase by 1% annually to around $823,000 in the fourth quarter of 2026. Prices are expected to rise in most major markets, with the exception of Toronto and Vancouver. The projections come amid significant economic and political uncertainty. Strength in financial stocks helped Canada's main stock index rise today. In Toronto, the TSX gained 74 points. In New York, the Dow fell 179, the Nasdaq added 31. The Canadian dollar is down a modest 0.04 On commodity markets, gold gained more than $18 an ounce and oil lost 63 cents a barrel.
If you point a gun at a cop, you're going to jail. If you do it at a firefighter, it's the same thing. But if you do it to a nurse, they ask what we could have done differently to de-escalate the situation.
Frontline danger. Violence against nurses is on the rise, some demanding urgent safety changes.
Let's look at our CTV News weather snapshot. Thanks to Sherry Young for this scenic image. Just ahead will snow, freezing rain, ice pellets, and rain itself, plus the winds being quite gusty. Could it all be in store over the next 24 hours? We'll find out next on CTV News Windsor.
Discussion here at Windsor City Hall.
Windsor's top stories.
A major project is about to get underway.
Breaking news alerts.
Severe weather is a possibility.
And watch live.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Download the CTV News app.
These conditions, we're seeing everything Bob talked about earlier on in the show. Gary joins me again for an extended look at the weather. And Gary, we're talking about the risk of freezing rain.
Freezing rain, the potential of, as I speak, through the next, say, 2 to 3 hours, and perhaps even overnight. A gusty, windy, gray, wet day that started with snow, 2 to 5 centimeters, as forecast coming to fruition this morning for the early morning commute, rush hour. Perfect timing. 1.4 degrees Celsius. Yes, that number above the freezing mark, still about 2 degrees below seasonal. There is some snow melt going on and a little bit more. Air quality is good, but really not the story, obviously. It's been a windy day, and we'll still be looking at wind gusts in that 40 to 50 K range through to at least 10, maybe 11 p.m. tonight. Rain, snow, ice pellets, freezing rain, all a possibility whenever we see temperatures fluctuating between, say, -1, 0, and +1. We're at +1 right now at the airport. That's 34 degrees Fahrenheit, the same value in Chatham-Kent. What does it feel like? About -5 to -6 under cloudy, damp conditions. The evening is now underway. The heaviest bands of snow, as you can see with our satellite radar imagery, I can tell you, moving through the Ottawa Valley, Cornwall, Gananoque into southern Quebec, northern central Ontario, looking at significant snowfall, even some squall activity coming off Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. Over the next 24 hours, snow tomorrow morning, followed by rain, followed by snow, all due to the same spin of low pressure. And with that temperature fluctuation, cold, then warming up just above the freezing mark and then down below. That's why we go from one phase of precipitation type to another. And there could be a mix of not just snow and freezing rain, but ice pellets, graupel, and just plain old rain. And we've seen a bit of that already this evening. So, rain and snow in the forecast. Tonight, there could be an icy risk. Freezing rain, the biggest concern. Will hold at between 0 and +1 through 8 o'clock and perhaps through midnight. Will actually warm up to about 4 degrees Celsius tomorrow early in the morning and then cool down near the freezing mark. There'll be more flurries Thursday morning before clearing, a high of -2, then -3 and -6 Friday into Saturday with some flurries in particular for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, temperatures between -3 and -5. Flurries a possibility, but I think a week from now, Monday, Tuesday, we'll see some sunshine. It won't be as gray.
Lifetime, brought to you by Safeguard Medical Alert Systems.
Across the country, reports show 6 in 10 Canadian nurses experienced violence in the workplace last year. Now nurses in Saskatchewan are speaking out about the growing problem. CTV's Alison Bamford on the urgent call to action.
Inside this Saskatoon hospital, nurses say they've been threatened with knives, guns, needles, even an inert hand grenade. And just yesterday, someone walked in with a shank.
Nobody goes to work to risk their personal safety, and nobody should have to be asked to risk their personal safety.
Speaking at a press conference held by the Saskatchewan NDP, registered nurse Melissa McGilvery says she's losing co-workers who are too scared to go to work. She's joining calls from the official opposition to have metal detectors installed at the hospital.
People are crying every single day at work, and it's not right.
The breaking point for some came late last month when a psychiatric patient brought a sawed-off shotgun and 3 concealed knives into St. Paul's Hospital. A nurse described the incident in an anonymous letter written to the union, saying the patient used a knife to stab a window and threatened to sexually assault and kill one of the staff.
I encourage nurses, if you experience any kind of violence, we press charges now. Because people need to know it's not acceptable. It can't be normalized.
In addition to metal detectors and increased security, the Saskatchewan Union of Nurses says there needs to be a culture shift in the way nurses are viewed.
If you point a gun at a cop, you're going to jail. If you do it at a firefighter, it's the same thing. But if you do it to a nurse, they ask what we could have done differently to de-escalate the situation.
The health authority says it's piloting weapons detectors at another Saskatoon hospital, which could lead to similar technology in more city ERs in the future. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The province says early next year it will be issuing licenses to 4 new community surgical and diagnostic centres to perform orthopedic surgeries in Ontario, and one of them is in Windsor. The move is part of the Ford government's plan to spend $125 million over the next 2 years to ramp up orthopedic surgeries at private clinics, including the Windsor Orthopedic Surgical Centre, allowing the centre to perform publicly funded surgeries for hip and knee replacements. The move, the province says, will reduce wait times for hip and knee surgeries and will support up to 20,000 additional publicly funded orthopedic surgeries.
I see he's being dragged outside.
Bear sprayed and attacked during a laptop sale gone wrong. Coming up on Windsor's news leader, the terrifying moments in his own home. A couple says they felt like they were fighting for their lives during a violent attempted robbery in their own home. The disturbing incident was caught on home security camera. CTV's Kevin Green reports.
Saturday afternoon, Jason Nguyen was trying to sell a laptop. He let a pair of prospective buyers into his Dover home to test it. Seconds later, a can of bear spray was unleashed in his face.
The moment that I turned towards the laptop, that's when I was hit with the bear spray. They sprayed all across my face, towards the eye, and at that point, I'm just acting reactively. For me, the safety of my wife is priority.
His wife, Nan Au, heard the commotion and ran out of their bedroom. By then, Nguyen was being pulled out the front door.
I see he's being dragged outside, and in front of our house, we have the shovel. So I just grabbed the shovel and kicking the individual that hurting my husband and to let him let go.
As Al kept swinging the shovel, one of the men broke away and ran down the steps, then turned and began kicking Nguyen in the ribs.
I'm really scared. I'm mostly scaring for our life.
But the assailants weren't finished yet. After kicking Nguyen in the front yard, one of them ran back into the house.
So he dropped his phone. So he came in and he picked up his phone. At that point, I still didn't know why he was re-entering our home, right? And so I started attacking him.
The attackers never did get the laptop, but the assault left the family home's walls stained with bear spray residue and Nguyen's arms and legs covered in bruises. The Calgary Police Service says it is investigating whether this attack is connected to other online sale robberies in the city.
And do we have people out there doing this on the regular? Regrettably, yes, we do. Do we know this is tied to one of those things? We don't know that yet, but we'll certainly be looking into that.
The Better Business Bureau says incidents like this underscore the risk of letting strangers into your home to complete a transaction.
Don't meet without at least one other person.
when you go somewhere, make sure it's a busy public spot, and that will go a long ways to ensuring your safety.
Both police and the BBB say one of the safest places to complete an online sale is in the parking lot of a police station, but even then they advise doing it in daylight for maximum safety. Kevin Green, CTV News, Calgary.
New back to the office details served up by the Prime Minister this week aren't sitting well with everyone. Unions representing federal public servants say workers already have enough on their plates as they worry about layoffs. CTV's Austin Lee has more.
There will likely be different levels of return depending on seniority, depending on role, and obviously depending on capacity.
At the mayor's breakfast Monday morning, Prime Minister Mark Carney suggesting federal public servants may soon have to spend more time in the office, coming as a surprise to union leaders.
I'm just shocked that that is where he chose to announce it versus actually telling his employees or even contacting the unions.
Last week, La Presse quoted an internal document from the Treasury Board Secretariat indicating the government is considering a full-time return to the office starting in January. Since then, unions say they have been trying to get clarification from the government to no avail.
There's no conversation. In fact, I have been inquiring since we had a leak. We found a slide, and we've been asking the question, what is this? And I've heard nothing back.
Some workers say there are already issues with office space.
Right now, it's kind of a little bit of, musical chairs. You're not really sure where you're going to be every single week.
It's hard to come back here and feel like this is my work spot. It's just, everything just keeps changing.
Ottawa's mayor says the city is preparing for workers to possibly spend more time downtown.
We're building more public transit. We're increasing the frequency of public transit. And we're about to open the East End extension of LRT.
The Prime Minister says to expect clarification in the weeks ahead.
We will be engaging with the public sector unions on the modalities of that, the appropriate levels of that. We will come to a sharper view on it over the course of the next several weeks.
But in the meantime, workers are left to wonder what comes next.
We feel like we're not actually being communicated that information, even though we all know it's the likelihood.
Austin Lee, CTV News.
The multi-platinum rock band Collective Soul is coming to Windsor. The band, along with special guests, the Blue Stones, will hit the Coliseum stage at Caesars Windsor on March 27th. The Atlantic group, celebrating more than 30 years together, continues to pack venues with classic hits like Shine, December, and The World I Know, as well as music from their newest album, Here to Eternity. Tickets go on sale Friday at 10 a.m. Cans for a Cause is back for its 22nd year.
Join us as we broadcast live from Devonshire Mall.
We'll be collecting cash and non-perishable food items for the Society of St. Vincent de Paul.
We need your help, generosity, and goodwill.
Visit us online for more information.
Time to check in on what's happening now with Melanie Kentner. And Melanie, returning to those calls for homelessness to be declared a state of emergency in Ontario.
Yes, Stefanie, the Big City Mayor's Caucus does give the province credit for one major initiative they've launched in the last year. We're talking about the HART hubs. Ontario has invested $550 million to open 28 homeless and addiction recovery treatment hubs, including one in Windsor that opened this past fall. Big city mayors give the province credit for that investment, but they say it's still not enough to end homelessness. CEO of Hotel de Grace Healthcare, Bill Mara, agrees. He says the HART hubs have been very busy with people asking for help, but he notes their agency is only part of the solution, a solution which requires better understanding about the stereotypes surrounding homelessness.
Most people assume automatically if someone is homeless, they either have an addiction problem or they have some sort of mental health issue. Not the case all the time. Housing affects many people for many different reasons, and so we need to have a broader, comprehensive strategy. So by declaring a state of emergency, it doesn't solve the issue, but politically it draws attention to it. It might trigger other resources, perhaps a different plan of action.
We've got more on the province's response to this demand in our online coverage at ctvnewswindsor.ca.
As always, we have so much stuff online. We are also talking about safety upgrades being approved for a busy LaSalle intersection.
Yeah, that's right, Stefanie. Essex County Council approved putting up a traffic signals at Front Road and Martin Lane. Residents raised concerns over the intersection last year. Construction is expected to begin late 2026, and the county has set aside $500,000 for the project. You can find more on the project on our website. And in our social spotlight, have you ever heard of underwater chess? Well, some of the top chess grandmasters in the world are in Cape Town for the Chess Grand Slam. But before the main competition, some players took part in diving chess. It's chess except underwater. A player can think only as long as they can hold their breath. It was invented in 2013 to add an extra challenge to the game, Stefanie.
Oh my goodness, this looks so cool. Look at all the I would love to play this. I would definitely not win, but I like chess, and this is just an added challenge.
Yeah, I can't hold my breath very long at all, so I would not have long to think.
Oh my God, I want to see the rest of the video. I wonder who wins. Okay, if people have video at home they want to share with you, how can they do it?
Yeah, they can email us at newsnow@bellmedia.ca or text it to 10400.
Okay, thank you, Mel. Canadian-born twins are rewriting Jeopardy history when we return the trivia talent that seems to run in the family.
This is your CTV Windsor Our Community Calendar. Sparky's Toy Drive is back. Purchase a new unwrapped toy to donate and drop it off at any local fire hall. Find the holiday spirit with Sparky's. See you next time on Our Community.
Gary, we have more precipitation on the way.
Yeah, it could be a mix of snow and freezing rain. Gusty winds prevail as I speak. Take a look at our EnerCare 7-day forecast. I'm calling for a high of actually +3, but between now and tomorrow morning, say around 9 a.m., we'll see snow changing over to freezing rain, drizzle, back to snow. 5 to 10 centimeters with a special weather statement is in place right now. Thursday, a bit more sunshine towards the afternoon after early morning flurries, -2. Then -2, -6, -6. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll see some flurries on the weekend. Next week, this time, temperatures cooling off, still below seasonal. Average high for this time of the year is +3.
Okay. Gary, earlier in the show, we were talking about using transit during these cold temperatures instead of getting on the roadways. We are continuing to talk about transit tonight, but this time in LaSalle.
Yeah, that's right, Stefanie. LaSalle Council taking their first real look at transit in many, many years as council considers hiring a consultant to review the town's only bus route. The service is still based on a 2016 study, long before the wave of new residential and commercial development you've been seeing if you've been driving through the town in recent years. Staff say the route has already outgrown those old projections, and with Windsor adjusting its network over the years and neighboring towns adding connections into the city, LaSalle wants to know if it's time for their single line, if it still makes sense. So we'll have an update on that tonight at 11. Could be the first step toward real changes in how transit operates in the town.
Okay, looking forward to hearing from that. We leave our viewers tonight talking about Canadian-born twins who are making history on Jeopardy. CTV's John Venevali Rao has more on the trivia skills that appear to run in the family.
We asked Ray Lalonde what it was like when he was first on Jeopardy back in 2023 and had a remarkable winning streak.
I won 13 games in a row.
It was something only about a dozen contestants had ever done in the 60-year history of the game. And now Ray and his brother making more Jeopardy history.
Honestly, it's a little surreal.
A medical physicist from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Ron Lalonde.
Surreal because that is Ray's twin who's been on the show this month.
And if our champion, Ron Lalonde, looks familiar to you, that's not just deja vu. You're thinking of his identical twin brother, Ray, who was also a Jeopardy champion.
The pair were raised in Thunder Bay and came from a family of 7 kids. Ron says they grew up watching Jeopardy long before Alex Trebek was the host.
My mother's a huge fan, and so we watched that pretty much every night in the old Art Fleming days back in the 70s.
The brothers have an amazing ability to remember trivia, and when Ray got on the show, Ron decided to keep trying himself to be a contestant.
And having the same kind of mind, I figured I'd do pretty well as well, so wanted to have that chance.
In the family.
Host Ken Jennings joking that Ron could in fact be Ray trying to get back on the show.
Is there a way to prove that you are not, in fact, Ray Lalonde, inventing a twin just to get a second crack at Jeopardy?
He's here.
He's here today. Hi, Ray.
Ray says it's been fun to see his brother compete.
My friends are calling me up going, I can't believe I almost thought that was you on TV again.
And while twins have been on Jeopardy before, Ron and Ray are the first to both win multiple games. And they say they have siblings that are even smarter.
Ron.
What a rocking chairs.
That's right.
Encouraging them to also try out for the show. John Venevalley-Rouse, CTV News, Toronto.
I think it's going to be interesting. Maybe we will see some of their siblings on Jeopardy again. That would be cool, but unfortunately, bad news, Ron lost last night, his 4th game. But incredible just to get on the show. What an experience.
Yeah, most people, I don't know if they could get to Jeopardy, so just the fact that it's twins doing that's incredible.
And family members that are even smarter.
I know.
What a very bright family indeed.
I always say my sister Daniela is amazing and should be on Jeopardy as well. So on behalf of our dedicated team here at CTV News Windsor, thank you for watching.
For updates throughout the evening, go to ctvnewswindsor.ca.
And Gary and I will be back with your only late local newscast at 11.
Good night.